everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Shayne. I write romance and romantic fiction, and today I am excited to show you my latest book haul, the first one of the year. I haven't done one of these since last fall, and I'm kind of surprised that I didn't actually have a book haul for the winter holiday seasons, but I honestly was still working through all the books that I had bought back in September. And I also read a lot of books from the library, either on ebook or checked them out in hardcover or listened to them on audio. And so many of those books were so good that I had to get them on my bookshelf. So, hence the book haul. Okay, first up is Ariel by Kennedy Ryan. And look at this, it is a signed edition, because the other ones that were in there were actually like paperback as opposed to hardcover. It's got a little signature there. This book is one that actually this author had written a few years ago, I think self-published, and she has really blown up with her Skyland series, you know, Before I Let Go and This Could Be Us, and the last book that's coming out in the series in May, Can't Get Enough, which is Hendrix's story. Very much looking forward to that. But they reissued this book, I think in November or December of last year, and I picked it up from the library. I listened to it on audio. It is about Neva Saint, who's an aspiring stage actress and an up-and-coming director. Think like Ryan Coogler, like early Ryan Coogler or Barry Jenkins. And he is trying to get a movie together that is about this sort of long-forgotten, like Harlem Renaissance era actress that he learned about her and wants to tell her story, and he's looking for the perfect actress to play the lead character. And he sees our main girl perform in a stage play. I think it was that she was the understudy and she finally got to actually star because the person she was understudying for couldn't do the performance that day. So he saw her on stage and said, "That's her. That is the woman I want to play my main character." And then he has to fight the production company or the studios because they're like, she's an unknown for a risky movie like this, you know, with black people and telling the story of an unknown black woman that nobody's ever heard of from years ago. We need to make sure this is going to be a hit, so we need stars. And he's like, no, we need somebody who's going to kill this role, and that is this woman. So, of course, as they start working together, they start developing feelings for each other, which is a problem because he's the director and she is this new up-and-coming actress. But they just can't deny the feelings that they have for each other. It's a slow burn. It has lots of subplots, too, about chronic illness, which our main character has, and also grief, because the director, the male love interest, recently lost his mother. I will be honest that when I was listening to this, so this is a little bit of a longer book than usual for a romance. And when I was listening to it, I remember thinking, this is going on. It's taking me like forever to get through this. It's so long. But after it was over, I could not stop thinking about this story and these characters. The ending was perfect. It was like one of those endings that just made you go, oh my God, that was perfect. And then there was a little epilogue that just sent another zinger through the heart and wrapped everything up. So yeah, I'm like, okay, gotta get this book because I can't get these characters out of my head. So very excited to get this beautiful edition of Ariel by Kennedy Ryan. All right, next up is When I Think of You by Myah Ariel. I heard about this book. So I'm learning that I really love stories that are set in like entertainment, film industries. Like some people really love sports stories and some people really love historical fiction. Some people love workplace dramas. I love stories, and I guess these are actually both workplace dramas. They're just not like corporate boardroom type dramas. They are set in the film industry. I'm learning that that is something that I love as a setting to a book. So this one also, the guy is an up-and-coming director, and our protagonist here, Kalia, she is somebody who also, the two of them met when they were in college. This is a second chance romance. So they met when they were in college, fell hard for each other, and then it ended up ending in a way that our main character is still pretty tore up about. And they were met in film school. She wanted to be a screenwriter, producer, and he wanted to be a director. He came actually from sort of Hollywood royalty. His father was a like Oscar award-winning director, and she has not come from such a privileged situation, so she's still struggling, basically working like a dead-end job, working as a receptionist for a production company or a studio, and he's taken off and doing his thing. And it is on like one of her worst days at her job that he comes into the studio to meet with one of the other like the heads or something like that, because he's working on his new film, and he sees that she is working a crappy job and miserable, so he offers to hire her on as like a director's assistant. And so it's sort of the dilemma of like, do I work with the guy that absolutely broke my heart and I'm still heartbroken over him, or do I stay at this job that is sucking the soul right out of my body? I can kind of relate to being in a situation where it's like, yeah, I'm getting a paycheck, I can pay my mortgage, I can pay my rent or whatever, but I'm not happy here. So anyway, this is a story of them and all of the ups and downs, all of the things that you think could happen with somebody who was like your kryptonite ex happens in this story. It's also a slow burn. I'm finding that I do really like second chance tropes too, if they're done really well. They have to be done well. They have to establish right off the bat that there was probably a really good reason why they broke up, but it wasn't like a reason of incompatibility. There was something else going on that can possibly be rectified now that we're older and wiser. So that is When I Think of You by Myah Ariel. Love this book. It was great. Highly recommend. All right. Next up, oh my gosh, speaking of books that I highly recommend, next up is Next Door Nemesis by Alexa Martin. I listened to this on audio first. I mean, look at the tagline: live, love, and get off my lawn. That says everything I need to know. I had actually seen this in the bookstore way back last year and kept thinking, oh, this book actually sounds really fun. It says 2 rival candidates for a homeowners association presidency. I mean, just that cracks me up. Are about to find out how dirty suburbanites fight in this steamy new romantic comedy. I read that and I'm like, oh, this sounds amazing. So again, this has film industry, Hollywood, backdrop. Our main character, Collins Carter, is back living in her parents' house after she had to leave Hollywood after a video of her went viral and completely ruined her reputation, and she had to get out of town, aspiring screenwriter. And so she comes back to town where she she runs into her old nemesis from high school, Nathaniel Adams. And this story it was so fresh, so funny. I listened to it on audio. I would listen to it when I was going on walks and just be cracking up. And anybody who would have been seeing me would have been like, what is that woman doing? Just laughing like a loon. So funny. I also am finding out that I really like setups where you think there's no way these two are going to get together. Because there was one thing that he did where I was like, oh no, he didn't. And it's like, how are we going to go from how much anger she had towards him to them falling into bed? I want to know how that happens. It was so fun, so funny. And I loved her parents. I mean, nobody wants to be an adult having to come back home and living with their parents because they basically had to leave their dreams in a dumpster fire. And she's very depressed, of course, and feeling, like a failure. And there she is living with her parents, who of course are interfering with her life. Like, you need to get up out of bed, honey. You need to get out and about and do things. And she's like, I don't want to. I'm depressed. I'm a failure. Loved her parents, loved her two friends. What I really like, so I remember reading in, I think it was Robert McKee's book, Story, where he said that your secondary characters should all revolve around your main character. They should be either an extension of or a complement or a foil, but they have to exist because of your main character and your main character's attributes. And I really saw that in this book because she has two friends who are party to all of the hijinks that happen in this story. One friend is very, very sweet and idealistic and just sees the best in everyone and is always trying new things, even though they don't go well. And then her other friend is like a divorce lawyer who is just always like, we are going to get your cheating ex for everything we can get. She's like a total shark. So they play off of our character really well because underneath her snarky facade, she is also a very kind and idealistic person. But on the other hand, so her one friend is kind of the extreme of that part of her. And then her other friend is the extreme of the part of her that's gonna get back at this guy no matter what. And their banter and the way they played off of each other and the way the author used their dish sessions to really move the story forward or set up what's going to happen next was really great. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this book, but I think it was great. It is a fun, bright read with a satisfying romance and lots of chemistry, and it was great. One other thing. Okay, here's one other thing that I really liked that the author did. So you find out pretty early on that she had to leave Hollywood because of a viral video, and you think that this video is one thing, but it ends up being something else. And that something else really shows you who the fuck she is, and it just makes you love her even more. So that's all I will say. Next Door Nemesis, loved it, get it, by Alexa Martin. All right, we're getting down to the final two. Now for something completely different. Gothikana by RuNyx. I had been hearing about this book for quite a while. It comes up on all of, back in October, I didn't get around to it in October, but back in October when I was looking for gothic romance, gothic reads, dark romance, dark academia, this is one that came up on a lot of lists. Didn't get around to it, but I finally read it earlier this year because I really got on my gothic kick earlier in the winter. Number one, the remake of Nosferatu came out on like Christmas Day. I went to the theater on Christmas Day to see Baby Girl because I love getting into the dark erotic thrillers on Christmas Day. It's like my thing. And there was a poster for Nosferatu and I'm like, what's this? I'm like, man, there are so many people out there after my own heart. Having like a erotic thriller or erotic drama and also having a remake of an old classic vampire movie come out on Christmas Day. I'm like, yes, this is how we do the winter holidays. Anyway, I'm getting back around to this. So I saw that Nosferatu had been a remake, and it was a remake by the same director who did The Witch, which I love that movie. And then I thought, okay, Nosferatu is a remake of an old movie, Nosferatu, which was an adaptation of Dracula. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't read Dracula in years, not since I was in high school. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reread Dracula, then I'm going to go see Nosferatu. And that really got me onto this whole like gothic, dark romance kick. Not that Dracula is the original Dracula. It's not a romance. As a matter of fact, Dracula is not a sexy romantic dude. You are not getting Lestat. You're not getting Tom Cruise's Lestat with the original Dracula. You are not getting Frank Langella coming up on a horse, coming out of the mist on a horse in the original Dracula. You're not getting Damon Salvatore in the original Dracula. You're getting like a really horrible, creepy, monstrous dude who subjugates people against their will and takes their life. But interestingly enough, all of the sort of remakes, adaptations, reimaginings of Dracula take a different take, which I'm cool with that too. Love all of that. So I read Dracula, and then I got this because it was available finally. I think it finally came up. I know what happened. I had this on hold because this is a popular book. It was on hold forever. I had it on hold, and then it finally came up as being available just about the time I was finishing Dracula. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. And it was a really great experience reading this after Dracula because there are so many callbacks, or you can see how the really iconic myth and imagery of Dracula plays into Gothic literature to this day. When the main character here, I guess I should say what this is about. It is about an unusual girl, an enigmatic man, an ancient castle. What could go wrong? Yeah, that sums it up. Of course, a lot of things go right too, if you know what I mean, because this unusual girl and this enigmatic man are gonna get together. Anyway, so it's about this girl who gets, after she's kind of left alone. Her father is gone, her mother is gone, and she gets a admission letter from a university that she never even applied to, but she has like no other options. So she's like, let me go to this university and check it out. When she arrives, it really evokes that moment when Jonathan Harker first shows up at Dracula's castle and is like, huh, what the hell is this? It's a little bit of a different vibe with this book because it's a little bit more on the positive romantic side. But it was such a great time reading this book. This book unlocked something in me. Can't even explain it. But you know, anytime you find out more about what you are and what makes you tick, it's a good thing. Super excited too because this author is coming out with a new book. I think it's the end of April, called Enigma, and another dark academia, I think, and I am definitely going to be picking that up. So anyway, Gothikana by RuNyx. And we're just going to let those books fall. Last but not least, the only book in here that I haven't read yet, Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. This is a book that when I first read about it, I put it on my TBR immediately because it is set in entertainment again, but not the film industry. This is set in music. I also love stories that are set in music, have to do with the music world, musicians. And this is a novel about two rival musicians who fight their attraction as they compete for center stage. So kind of another rivals thing, which apparently is another one of my things, is like, how are these people who are like this gonna get like this? Anyway, and this is also set, like these are, this is set in the music, in an orchestra, which is also really interesting. I love all kinds of music, including classical, particularly when I need to just like chill out and get calm. I love to listen to classical. So this is about a violinist and I think and a cellist, and they end up kind of competing, I think, they end up being in sort of a competitive situation in the same orchestra and are forced to work together. And then, of course, sparks fly. So I'm excited to read this one. And that is Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. That is it. Now my bag is empty, which means, you know what that means? It means I gotta get to Barnes & Noble and fill it up with more books, or any place with new books. That's it for the video. If you made it this far, give me a like, and also let me know if you've read any of these books and what you are excited to get into your TBR for spring. All right, talk to you later. Bye.